Hey folks, Steve here with another Axis Empires Ultimate Edition video. This is Tora Part 1. I did do a Part 0 video that kind of set up the situation, and you can watch that if you've not already to get a sense of just what is the scenario going to be covering. But this is the start of the big events in the Asia-Pacific Theater in the start of winter of the 1941 to 42 time period. So infamous days are afoot here, and we're going to play through. Um, we do start with the Axis turn, as one would expect, and we are playing the East Wind Rain card. So we would remove North Wind Cloudy. The Navy is in charge of the government, so this is all good. And if limited war is in effect, roll on the surprise attack table with the plus or minus DRM, political DRMs. Right now, there is a political DRM of +1 because the Axis tide marker is in the +1 box. So we'll roll a die and we'll see what we get. So we rolled a 5, +1 is a 6 on the surprise attack table is widespread attacks. So just to show what I'm talking about, so here's the surprise attack table. We rolled a 5, we get the +1, and we get widespread attacks. So we're going to look in rule section 3736 in the Dice Senso rulebook, and we'll figure out what that is. 3736. The Axis faction may immediately perform 2 Operation Z actions. The Z actions are bonus actions. On top of those, the Axis operation or the Axis faction will receive when it performs the Operation Z political event. Okay, so what is Operation Z? Well, Operation Z allows us to do several things, and in fact, there's a whole rules section to look at here. And I'm going to go ahead and okay, you guys can barely see that, but if you want to check the rule book, it's available online. Basically, it allows us to do lots of powerful things, right? This is sort of the how can you simulate the great craziness that the Japanese were executing in the Pacific Theater during this time, all this massive planning and execution that had them invading and attacking places all over the place, right? All over the map. In something like World in Flames, like you really need a plan for it. You need to get stuff set up. You need to think about it. You need to kind of work your way backwards from where you want to be. It's actually kind of stressful in World in Flames to be playing Japan. And in fact, in my current World in Flames monthly game, I am Japan and I am stressing about having to do this. So it's really funny to be like, okay, well, we're going to do this in a very different way here. And Operation Z actually makes this a really easy sort of thing. So what does Operation Z allow us to do? Well, perform the following steps in this order. The Axis faction may select one neutral minor country and do one of the following. Apply declare war, or apply neutrals pressured, or roll on diplomatic incident table. Now I'm gonna say I don't think I can do that part of Operation Z until the actual political event. So these free bonus actions, I don't think we can do that. Yeah, that's a distinct thing. So we'll get to do that. Historically, if we look at the map situation, I'm reasonably confident that this declaration of war that we'll get later in this turn is going to be used on Siam. Now, the Siamese Thailand situation historically is a little funky in terms of like how does a strategic game portray what happened there in like the 5-hour war or whatever it was. I think I've seen it referred to or something like that. In World in Flames, the Japanese just align Siam effectively, and we move on from that. Here, I think we do have to declare war on them, but their force pool is going to be so reduced. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. Because we essentially want these guys to be moving here and then potentially down the Malayan Peninsula to get to Singapore, potentially be contesting Burma. We got to get through Siam to get there. So I'm reasonably confident that's where we're supposed to, quote unquote, historically speaking, use our declaration of war. I think. Alternatively, it's declaring war on the Netherlands East Indies, which I'm unsure if we can just do that or not. I think we can. Um, because in the training scenario information, let's see. Neutral minor countries: Netherlands East Indies, Siam, France. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure something out there. I'm not sure what yet, because out of our requirements, we need to get into Singapore. We don't technically have to get in to the Dutch East Indies or the Netherlands East Indies in this scenario. We don't really have to. So I'm a little bit on the side of maybe declaring war on Siam, unless there's some easy way to bring them into our holdings. Anyway, so after you do that, you can perform a certain number of Z actions. So this is the widespread attacks. We get 2 Z actions right off the bat. How many Z actions you would normally get depends on the season. So autumn, winter, and spring, you get 6 Z actions. So it's something to keep in mind. And then to perform a Z action, the Axis faction selects one of the following. So there's a whole little list of things we can do. We can do a harbor attack, where we select one enemy surface fleet support unit from an allied force pool or on the turn track and place that unit in the naval warfare delay box. So would be helpful to do that, certainly. But the surface fleet cannot belong to a truce or policy affected country. So I'm uncertain how we can best do a harbor attack until we're at total war. So that's a problem. We can do an NSLF landing. So we place one special naval landing force beachhead -0 marker in any all-sea hex on the map. So we may not. I'm not sure. That's maybe an option. We can do a surprise troop movement. So the Axis may move one single step ground unit from any hex in Japan or a Japanese dependent to any other hex in Japan or a Japanese dependent. The hex being moved to cannot contain an enemy unit or marker. You just pick up the unit and you move them. That's kind of interesting. I wouldn't mind doing that, maybe. That could be helpful somewhere. And then finally, we have a Totsugeki. So we place one Totsugeki marker in a hex anywhere on the map, and that will functionally be like additional Blitz markers. East Wind Rain, the card itself, will give us, a Blitz marker. And I could certainly see where, like, in terms of blitzing, we are more likely to need to use our Blitz markers in China than just about anywhere else. So that's probably a concern. And I need to make sure I keep an eye on the weather. So South Monsoon is mud. South Monsoon is basically the Netherlands East Indies. So again, I think that kind of points us to not trying to do anything immediately there. Doesn't help us much. The north area, which is largely out of the scenario, has snow, but I'm not terribly worried about that. Other than we do have a unit in Manchukuo, but that's not a big deal. So what do we do? What do we do with these widespread attacks? What can we get use out of? We could certainly play some Tetsugeki markers, which could really help us in China. Certainly, that would be actually a really useful thing for us to try to do. So I could see that. That would allow us to, really get a lot of China in scope for offensive attacks. I got to keep in mind that, like, however we're doing this, the catch is that we're not at war with these major powers until the next step of the card. So these two these two Operation Z things. I suppose I could use the SNLF. That would be helpful. Um, and what it might mean is it can't be contested, and that maybe is the big thing here. Um, because this placement cannot be contested, nor is it restricted by weather. So we could place an NSLF beachhead marker even in the crappy weather. And what I wonder is we could park one of these guys just right out by Wake Island potentially. Um, I don't see any reason why we couldn't try to do that. So I need to think on this, guys. I'm sorry, a little bit of a long intro here, but just we got lucky. The special attack table, we could have gotten some other results. There's one here labeled Carrier's Cot, which is cool, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happens because that one seems to be associated to Schiffskrieg. I don't know if you guys can. It might be hard to see. That one might have been cool to get, but I don't know. It might not always apply, unfortunately. But this widespread attacks was a good one. We could have gotten basis damage. Maybe that would have been something good for us. A couple of these different options, but this one seems like it's one of the better ones. We just get more of these actions, but we got to figure out what to do with them. So, um, I do think the policy affected country stuff might be important. But if we can, for instance, just set up and be able to take Wake Island or something now, if not now, be set up to do it, that might be a huge, huge help. When I look at the map and I just see like where do we need to be, I mean, gosh, even trying to get down here wouldn't be terrible. We could get into Papua and just start making progress right away towards Port Moresby. That would be kind of a nice to have. So yeah, I got to think this through, and I got to double check against the the rules for the NSLF markers, and two, whether it matters if these guys are, whether or not a policy affected country matters, because until, I'm sorry with the focus, total war is not yet in effect. We check the if limited war is in effect, yes. We roll in the surprise attack table. We get our results. We've got to execute those results before total war is in effect, and then everything else kind of follows on with the normal Operation Z later. So I've got I got a good result, I feel like, on that surprise attack table. I need to figure out what's the most effective way to use even those two. Is there anything I can do right now that can really hurt the allies? What's the best way to use these? So I'll be back. We'll have decided what to do there, and we'll keep going on. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. I have no idea if this is gonna work. No idea if it's gonna work. But here's the deal. I put one. I'm using both actions for SNLF markers, and I'm putting one on Wake Island because once we declare war, we do the whole thing, or once total war goes into effect. We have supply convoys out to Wake Island already, so this will be supplied. We will take control of Wake Island, easy peasy. I've also set one up on Johnston Island. Why Johnston Island? Well, I'd love to get into Midway, but I can't. It's just a bit too far. Why is it a bit too far? Well, we can't get. We're not necessarily going to have a base from which to place a supply convoy marker in the International Dateline C zone up here. And we would need that to take Midway. Instead, what I'm going to try to do is when it's the Axis turn for support markers, I'm going to place our singular supply marker, supply convoy, in Southeast Pacific. And I can do that because I have Majuro here, which is a multi-zone port that has a detachment in it, which means we can trace in terms of sea zones with either a naval base in it or whatever. Like we can trace all the way through to here, place a supply convoy that will enable this guy to be in supply, and we will take Johnston Island. Why is Johnston Island important? Johnston Island is a multi-zone hex, and in fact, it sits upon multiple sea zones, and it gives us a naval base, however small, uh, to this area. Why is that important? Because on a future turn, gosh darn it, we could be looking at then hitting Midway from here or hitting the Hawaiian Islands from here. So that's sort of the like let's just see what we can do here. Wouldn't it be grand to take Hawaii? I think that'd be super cool. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. I don't think there's even a point to doing it, but I'd like to have the ability to project force out here. That would surely be nice. I like that idea quite a lot. So that's the thought process. I mean, alternatively, I could do the same move and go down to here and maybe start shooting for Western Samoa, maybe an early start near Guadalcanal. But I think this is just as well, given I don't really know what I'm doing. So we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. It'll be a nice pickup. It'll give us the ability to project force um, out to out to the far reaches of the Pacific Ocean, and that may give us some advantage in poking at the American supply capability. For our own purposes, we're going to have a lot of other, when we get to the later part of the turn with our Z actions, we're going to have other SNLF landings. I will have 3 other SNLF markers in play to use. I will certainly use them to drop on Rabaul. I will probably use them to drop in on, let's see, what else is out there? Because we're not going to declare war on the Dutch East Indies until next turn. We're probably going to drop into the southern part of the Philippines, and maybe more. We'll see. I certainly want to use as many of those guys as possible, and then any leftover Z actions we'll use for potentially uh, Totsugeki markers. I guess. I mean, they're on the opposite side of our SNLF markers, so maybe we're going to have to make a choice there. I don't know. I don't know really the best way to handle all these things. So I'll have to figure it out somewhere along the way. Um, it's like, would there be any other benefits right now? I think our harbor attacks will go off as well. So it'll all come together all right. But I think this is an interesting strategy, and we'll try for it. Okay. Anyway, now that is done. Total war is now in effect. Let's go to 12.3. Let's just make sure we follow this to the letter because it's going to matter. Total war effects. We're on the Daisenso, so I'm going to read that page. Immediately perform each of the following steps in order. We must remove all disputes, peace, quarantine, resistance, and treaty policy markers from the posture display. Well, what's out there now is lapsed treaty and quarantine. So those go away. And I will just set them aside. Hurrah. The Axis faction may remove any acceptance or neutrality markers. Okay, well, that's not really, I don't think that applies. May remove any truce markers. Okay. Place the increase USCL marker 3 seasonal turns ahead on the DS track. I have that marker somewhere. So we're going to remember to do that. I'm going to have to go find it, I think. But we are going to do that. If any of Britain, Communist China, Nationalist China, or Russia are policy-affected countries, place their entry markers 15 seasonal turns ahead on the DS turn track. We would do this for Russia, but that won't really be relevant. If European total war, we're not really tracking that. Okay. Step 7. Okay, that's only for a combined game. Step 8. Place the VJ Day marker 16 seasonal turns 4 years ahead on the turn track. We don't really need to do that either for this 4-turn scenario. If any of these conditional events have not yet occurred, they are immediately triggered. The owning faction places any counters it would receive in the DS delay box. Outbreak of war. I don't think we need to worry about that because that's already occurred. Army program. I have no idea if Army program has occurred. I don't even know how I would know if that were true. Economic program, GHCQ. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I thought I knew about that oh yeah, IGHCQ. That's already in the delay box. So I guess we would be potentially executing that, but we're already kind of doing that for us. Army program 3821. The Army program Air Force unit from the Axis conditional events placed in the delay box. I don't think we actually would have had that set up. Either that or we already have that unit. Yeah, we already have that unit, so that probably already occurred. Naval program, I'm not sure that I don't think that matters. That wasn't part of our setup, I guess, is the thing I'm trying to make sure of here. Yeah, I guess we're not going to worry about Navy program either for what it matters. Economic program, well, that would trigger, but we already have our IGHQ logistics marker in the delay box, so that's taken care of for us. And then political program, those markers seemingly already in the delay box. So some of those must be occurring here, and we have already put those units in the delay box, so that's all good. And then okay, so we're doing that. And this, while it's not explicit in Total War, the Americans and the British are their posture is war, and so there's a number of units that go into the delay box as the Far Eastern Forces. This is all notated on the Western faction or the Western Force Pool player aid card, those units, and they're already in the delay box for us. So the game setup took care of that for us, but just following our order of operations, we're making sure we're doing that complete. So yes, now the Total War is in effect. The Axis are going to get a scratch convoy, one 112 armor unit, and a CV fleet in the force pool. So just like that, we get a carrier fleet. Lucky us. I'm really glad. So now we have four, in fact, four scratch convoys in our force pool. We now have 3 surface fleets, 2 carrier fleets, and 2 air forces. So we've got quite a lot to drive our offensive capability. That's very good. And now we're going to have our replacement segment. Now, this is going to be the tricky thing. We get 6 infantry steps. They're all going to go into Japan, I believe. I think they have to. But I'm probably, when it comes to the organization phases, I don't think I'm going to build up any units. I think I'm going to want to make sure I can transport a lot of these guys out around the Pacific areas or support the offensives into various other places. So all that I think all this really means to me is we're going to plop down some single step infantry in these areas and probably look to ship them out somewhere else eventually. Um, okay, so now that's all the preamble stuff done. Feeling pretty good. And now we have the political events. So we have apply Operation Z. So we've already been talking about that quite a bit. Um, back to 3728. And because this is a winter turn, we're going to get 6 actions in addition to what we've already set out. And we do get a declaration of war. And I do think we're going to go ahead and do that to Siam. The next turn's political event segment, when we get to do this again, I will probably target the Netherlands East Indies. I keep wanting to say Dutch East Indies. Netherlands East Indies, when the weather is hopefully a little bit better there. I'm not sure it's actually going to be better, but we'll give it a shot in another turn. So, declare war 3711. I can't imagine this is going to be very different from Totaler Krieg, but maybe not. Okay, activate the neutral minor country as an allied country after turning its alignment. Okay, well, that's all well and good. Now, I do need to go, so when we talk about, like, again, we're talking Siam here. I need to go see what units are in the Siam force pool. So give me a second to take care of that, and we'll keep rolling here. Okay, so I went and checked. Siam has a reserve unit, but also a regular unit in the force pool. And just the placement and then mobilization puts the Siamese army right there in Bangkok. I was checking to see, like, is there some other way to take Siam more easily here? And there doesn't seem to be. But, the political situation with Siam historically is a little weird. And so I could understand, like, do we need to do something different here? Am I not sure? Am I missing something? Is there something else that I could be doing here that I'm not? That I'm not sure about. I want to say historically, didn't the Japanese, they kind of came into Siam, they took over, and then from there they made progress against Malaya and Singapore. Boy, I'm gonna have to go look this stuff up. You'd think I'd know this, but I'm a little fuzzy. I'm a little fuzzy now that I'm on the spot. Anyway, so now we've got our six items that we need to figure out what we're going to do here. Like I've said, we've already set up our critical moves out in the far Pacific. I think, let's see, I'm going to use a die here. We've got 6, maybe put that in view for you guys. I've got 6 Plan Z operations. Well, we're going to need to grab Rabal. That much is going to be true. Is there something else we can do? Let's see. Papua's a British dependent, so it would behoove us to grab Wewak, and then we'll be able to transport units and begin a set of operations. Oh, I might not have the troop convoys. That's going to be tricky. Maybe I don't want to do that. I will need to arrange to get folks down here, but I'm not there yet. I need to think through this. All right, well, we'll certainly want to grab Davao in the southern Philippines. Surely. Sarawak is actually a British dependent and has oil. So honestly, there's a high likelihood that it would be fitting to grab the oil. and not have to worry about the delay markers, or the delay. You guys know what I'm talking about. Jeez. Okay. What's the situation here? Yeah, that's adjacent to Hong Kong. We'd probably want to grab Hong Kong. I think we've got a good way to do it. So let's stop there for a second. By using all these SNLF markers, the Totsugeki markers won't be available to us. But let's talk about what we're grabbing with our SNLF. And right now that's using 1, 2, 3. So that would leave us with 3 more actions. What does that get us? We get Wake Island, we get Rabaul, and we get Brunei, which is going to give us oil. Without even getting into the Dutch East Indies, it gives us oil. And that means we'll be able to get, or we'll be able to ignore the oil embargo thing. And I think that's going to be good just to grab right off the bat. We're going to be able to get Guam pretty easily. I'm not worried about that. And then we should be set up to get Johnston Island as well. Probably going to end up forcing a naval carrier battle out there because of this. So the threat to Hawaii is going to force that issue on the Americans. So I feel pretty good about that. And then what I need to figure out is how to leverage these scratch convoys, because what I would like to be able to do is get more unit movement around. So like me pushing out supply to the Johnston Island mission kind of leaves me wondering what else I can do with my scratch troop convoys. So that's going to be tricky. I think I can look at. Okay, so that's a key port. So we have a whole bunch of scratch convoys, but they're based on usage of key ports. So I could put one basically, here, and then I'm not sure where the rest of my key ports are going to end up being. Truck is a key port, so I could. It's funny. I could actually. I could funnel troops into Wewak and then march them along to Port Moresby. So that's something to think about. I got to think about that for a second. Or could I even try to make a run here? And I potentially could, to try to drop into Port Moresby on turn 2. I could very well potentially do that. What to do here? I think this setup is fine. I'm going to go with that. And I've still got 3 more, so we're going to do harbor attacks. So we're going to take, and we can only target surface fleets with this, but we're going to take both the British surface fleet and the American surface fleet, so the Eastern and Pacific, respectively, and we're going to be sticking them in the the naval delay box, which maybe will cause some havoc. We'll see. So that's leading us down to 1. And we can't really use the Totsugeki markers because we've already kind of placed those guys. We are going to get a Blitz marker, and I'm just going to say, just straight up early, like, I think I would like to place that up here. So we can make progress in China. I'm trying to see if there's any. Well, actually, no. Actually, I think what we're going to do is we're going to place that in Siam, near, I'm going to place it on Bangkok here. I want to make sure I can clear Siam, no problems. I don't think we have very much in the way of armor out there on the board to really make a huge difference on the board itself. China is not going to be an easy nut to crack by any means, but I think that will help us get moving um, against eventually Singapore. Trying to see if there's anything else I can really do that's going to make any other big difference there. Um, can't do Totsugeki. We've already done harbor attacks to the degree that we can. We're using all of our SNLF. So we have a surprise troop movement. So what does that mean for us? Well, it does mean we could move a unit to a surprising place. Um, I'm like pushing stuff around. So I can grab one unit, single step unit, and put it somewhere else in Japan or a dependent. And Japanese dependents. So our list of Japanese dependents, and that's really where we would be dropping somebody. Eastern Caroline Islands, Formosa, Indochina, Korea, Manchukuo, Marcus Island, Marshall Island, Shanghai, Western Caroline Islands. What I could do is I could start to prep an invasion force. I could stick this guy in the Marshalls. And have something to move, or maybe what I do is move this guy to Palau, and he's just ready to support actions on the next turn, maybe? It's like a free transport, but it's like I gotta put him somewhere I sort of already have units, or I already have, something that's gonna help us operate. One thought is, now that I'm thinking about it, one thought is we move this guy to Formosa, and if this were a campaign game, I'd be more worried about doing this. If we were to get a beachhead marker here and we start moving these guys into this port and start making a move on Manila. Now, Manila's not one of the key places in this scenario for victory, but it would be a nice pickup. So, would that be the thing to do? It's really hard to say. I'm a little frustrated at what can I do? What should I do? I don't have a lot of easy answers. Right now, Indochina is an option, and so what I could do is bolster Hanoi, and that might make sense to do because we'd like to be able to push further along, or even put some additional oomph, here. So I think I'll do that. I'll move a guy down into in Indochina. Maybe not an optimal move, but that's just going to have to do it. So I guess that's the question for those who are watching this. What would you do with all your Z actions, right? We have a strong S and L F activity underway. We're going to have a lot of. We took care of the U.S. fleet at Pearl Harbor, seemingly, with the harbor attack, as well as the equivalent taking out the British fleet. Um, and we'll have some carrier battle to come, and then we'll see what happens, right? It's tough. What else can we be doing? Someone can explain to me the most optimal move here, but this is the opening, right, of Total War. This would be the thing that we need to be thinking about. All right, so political events over, support segment. So now this is where we got the real deal thing. We're putting our supply marker out in the Southeast Pacific, which is going to supply our beachhead marker, the SNLF that we've already placed. My expectation would be that the Americans will drop their CV fleet somewhere on the attack to try to keep the Americans from, or I'm sorry, the Japanese from launching an attack on Midway or the Hawaiian Islands. But I don't think we're quite ready to do that. So it's really where else do the Japanese want to go? I do think. Let's think about this for a second. I mean, it would be good. It would be good to start a campaign trying to get into Papua. And there's no reason right now not to try. So we would say, hey, we're going to place a CV. We're going to place our surface fleet, which would be aiming to put a regular beachhead marker on Wewak. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. What can contest that right now? The carrier fleet. Do the Allies want to waste their carrier fleet right now or not? I'm going to say they're going to hold off because if they lose too many other critical ports, well, I don't know. This is kind of tough. I'm going to roll a die. Okay, so the Allies will not use their carrier fleet for this. So we will basically use this guy to place a beachhead marker. So we'll put him in the delay box. And we have a normal beachhead marker here. And we will use a troop convoy based on our key port of truck. And I need to make sure I'm doing that right. Sorry, this is a little slow, guys. This is a little bit different. This is a little bit different than what we've seen. A slightly different set of operations that are really gonna make this its own little trick here. Scratch convoys. Okay. Can only be placed in the convoy's box of a naval zone containing a key port that contains a friendly unit, detachment, or logistics marker. Does not need to trace a fleet path to a home country open port. All right, well then, yeah, we have a lot more capability than I might have thought we did. So we're going to have this troop convoy placement as well. So again, all regular beachhead. We're going to land here. We're going to be landing here. What else can we do? Where else would the scratch convoy help? I guess that's the other thing. What can we do to be moving units around that will help us start maneuvering for future steps? I do wonder. I do wonder what if I might correct something here. What if we did put this guy here, and then we put, oh wait, never mind. That is not a, never mind. Sorry, guys, that's not a key port. I need to think it through. Think it through, Steve. Though Tarawa would be a great pickup, and I'm wondering how can I get that? But I need markers for that, so let's not worry too much about it. We can hold on to our scratch convoy for the time being. I'm just wondering where else we could make use of them that could get us something useful. Well, this will do. This will do. We're if the Axis achieves victory in this scenario, it's going to be via probably the Pacific options rather than the China option. I see that being a harder nut to crack right now on our short time frame. So, okay. Any other markers do I want to place? We're out of regular beachhead markers, so this is more. What else can we be doing to hurt the Allies? Now, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough. Yeah. All right. Well, this will be good. There's a part of me that's wondering if I'm missing something. There's something that I'm missing that I could be doing, but I'm gonna keep us moving here. We've still got some additional things. We've got we're gonna place an Air Force here up there to support the Japanese offensive against the Chinese. We're gonna hold other air in reserve. We're gonna hold our other surface fleets in reserve. Our carrier fleet, I don't see a true need to use yet for anything, but we'll be looking at that. And our other troop convoys, I don't necessarily see a need for that yet. Though certainly we'll have to start looking at our capability for that in the future. So with that done, now we're going to have organization segment. I don't have a whole lot that I want to do there. I think if anything, there's a desire to flip this guy and break him down a little bit. And utilize that for some shifting. He's in Manchukuo for some reason. I'm not sure why, but we're going to add him to our Chinese front. Certainly. So then we're going to have let's see what operational movement. Probably not as much going on here as one might think. I want to say, as I look around the map, we'll certainly have some stuff going on here. So, getting these guys set up for an attack into Siam. Certainly going to need that. Don't want to move this guy here. I don't think we're going to move or do anything much more here. I think that guy drops to there. This guy moves to here. not many places to move, to be honest. And depending on how I have my convoys set up, there may not be a huge need to be moving a whole bunch of stuff anyway. And just FYI, I don't have it on the screen, but there is India over here that, for at least for the moment, is going to be pretty quiet. Maybe the other thing I'll bother to do is I'll move these guys over and start moving him towards Majuro, just so we have some capability to make some other moves when we have an opportunity. We are going to move this SNLF guy from Palau to our beachhead marker. And I think we're going to be relatively good to go there. So operational movement would be done. I'm reasonably confident. Oh, I'm sorry. I know what I meant to do with some of our troop convoys. We're sticking a scratch troop convoy there and there, and we'll see why here shortly, but we're going to ship some stuff along the way. So boom, 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 boom. Moving this guy from Palau, leaving our detachment there, putting him on the beachhead, and that's the operational movement. I do think that means I can't use my Blitz marker over here. I have to use it over here. So that's, I'm sure somebody was getting ready to type that comment. I already got it. Boom. Here. Okay, so then we would have our Blitz combat segment. So first things first, have our advance into Wewak. And that's all taken care of there. So we're landing in Papua. And just to make sure we got this. So yeah, Blitz combat. That's going to be the only real true Blitz combat that's going on. Beachhead landing. Oh, I guess our one problem was that the South Monsoon was mud, so but I still think I could have done that. I think I can. I don't think that weather would have affected this. Sorry, I'm a little disorganized here, guys. I got a lot going on. Trying to get this stuff right. Mud. Oh, okay. I can't do that. I can't do that. Dang it. So we're gonna have to wait. Ah, man, what a bummer. Okay, well, I could do something else with these guys. Let's think about where else we would have put this. Understanding that the South Monsoon's an issue, and then from A31 south is an issue. So, is there somewhere else that we could shoot for? That would be helpful. We're already gonna get there. We could shoot for. Well, you know what? Let's just do. Let's do this. We might as well make this happen and start the campaign for the Philippines. And if we keep our, well, let's clean some of this other stuff up for a hot second. We don't need as much action here, but we will want, well, yeah, I guess we would want our troop convoys here, scratch convoys for that reason. And yeah, this will all work out, guys. We're good. We're set. And we'll leave a troop convoy behind. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all that, guys. We can't really get into here yet because the mud and the South Monsoon is a problem. What we can do is get folks into the Philippines, and so we'll take the port, right? So the Blitz segment. So this would have been operational movement to go from here to here. And then the Blitz segment, we capture the port Apari. And then when we get to reserve movement, we're going to ship a unit in. And again, that's going to be the continued part of our campaign in the Philippines that we'll want to leverage. And then we'll try to get into, we will do our level best to get into Port Moresby somehow, I guess. Dang it. Okay. So it goes. All right, so now we have our SNLF stuff. We've got several of these that we're going to take care of, right? Are our SNLF markers supplied? Yes. 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 And I want to say, this would be the thing. I could still choose Wewak with one of our SNLF markers, but that's giving up a different SNLF marker somewhere. And I guess based on this conversation and just wanting to make sure that I need to focus on winning the scenario, not the grand campaign, I'm going to switch our SNLF marker retroactively and say we are going to drop into WEWAC. Just so we get a presence in this area. My whole gambit for the whole gambit for for Johnston Island right now doesn't matter. If this were a campaign game, I probably would. But given we need to take what we need to take for this scenario, I'm going to have to reverse that. And I am going to say that the Americans would try to contest something that way. Well, or not. I don't know. We're just going to keep playing through. I'm going to get stuck in my support marker conundrum that I always do. Okay, S in the left landings. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to remove this detachment marker from Wake Island. Goes back into the American force pool. What do we get instead? We get a detachment in Wake Island of the Japanese. Boom shakalaka. Same thing with Rabaul. Boom. Boom shakalaka. We get our port here. I don't think there's any better port to have taken right now. Can I actually take Port Moresby? Why wouldn't I try that? Oh, because he wouldn't be supplied here. That's the thing. That's why we wouldn't go there. But we have inherent supply markers here. So get another one. Detachment. This is removed. detachment. Problem is we're going to start getting low on detachments. Detachment. And I should point out we're covered for oil embargo issues at the moment. And just for the sake of cleanup, I'm going to remove these as they're getting used. So bing, bang, boom. And we've taken quite a lot. I also meant to move into Guam. That's my bad. Get that. And I guess because we would have done that, we wouldn't have needed to use a scratch convoy for some of this stuff. Boy, oh boy, guys, I've got so much trickiness going on here that we're needing to accommodate. Tricky. Yeah, okay. All right, well, that corrections are what they are. This is a rough video, guys. I'm so sorry. I really am. I apologize. All right, so now we're going to have combats out over here. Terrestrial combats. I'm just going to take care of that off camera, and we'll come back and show some aftermath. Okay, folks. Let's see. We got into Bangkok, and we'll be moving down the Malayan Peninsula. Trying to figure out, is there a faster way to get down there than the way I'm going? I mean, we could always try to do an actual, like, invasion with a beachhead marker, but I guess I'm struggling thinking through that, to be honest. I guess if I did, it would be... I don't know. Trying to use the Java C and then trying to make some kind of drop operation here. A little uncertain of how that's going to go. So I maybe have misplayed this a little bit, but we'll see what happens. Elsewhere in China, not a whole lot of movement. We did take Hong Kong. We're start to make something occur. Whoops, I forgot to move this guy. Oh no, he shipped in. That's my bad. Yeah, just kind of weird trying to figure out, like, well, we want to take as much as we can take. We also want to be in a good position to continue to force our way through. I'm even looking and I'm seeing there's still mud in the South Monsoon for a while, so I don't know exactly when we're going to try to get into the East Indies, or even try to get into Papua. We just kind of have a weird situation afoot, I guess. That's the way I'm looking at it. Is there something else I would have or could have done? Well, yeah. I would very much like to get somebody shipped into here so we can continue to make progress in Papua, but the weather just really seems to be the issue. Like, we can't place support markers, and that's a real problem. That's really the root of our issue. Maybe I'm not getting the weather stuff right, but a support unit cannot be placed in an all-sea hex in the Arafura Sea, Bismarck Sea. Maybe a convoy marker is not a support unit versus a support marker. I guess that's the distinction. A marker versus a unit is the thing that I want to make sure I disambiguate. The convoy marker. Well, here's the thought process, guys. If I had done it this way, if I put this guy back for a hot second, what I would do is I would have a troop convoy marker here, and I would, in understanding that that's not a support unit, that's a convoy marker, I would be shipping this guy then in the reserve movement phase from Palau to Wewak, and then be in a position to start moving down here. And it wouldn't even be very hard, because what we would start to be trying to do oh, interesting. I've got some weirdness I got to figure out, but ideally, we have now a unit that can begin pushing our way down into Port Moresby. So I guess if I say a convoy marker is not a unit, and it's not restricted by weather the same way, we should be able to make that move. And those are some of the corrections I guess I need to be thinking about. Um, hmm. So strange to think about and deal with here. But I think that's good enough. So yeah, so we're going to be good from there, and we will. I'm going to end the video here. I think I've done enough damage to my own sanity by stumbling my way through this specific blitz. I think we've done good things. We've picked up a victory hex, which is good. The allies are kind of knocked off balance, and we are well on our way to achieving victory by grabbing another victory hex, ideally soon. Um, and we'll just have to see how the clock plays out for us in terms of this scenario. I would definitely say this is a much more nuanced tutorial scenario um, than one might think. I'll say that because there's just so much going on. So anyway, let me wrap this up here, guys. We'll do the allied turn in part 2. So hope you enjoyed this video. I got something out of it, at least seeing where I'm stumbling around. If I made some egregious strategic choice failures, please let me know. Otherwise, we're gonna continue to push on here, and just see where we can get to. The one weird mistake I maybe made was, trying to use our scratch convoys to just simply ship another unit into the Philippines. But I'm worried about my sea lift, where it feels like I don't have a huge amount of sea lift, and these convoys are going to end up going to the delay box, which is very worrying, I think, because they have the delay stripe on them. So yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope this was interesting. We're still a good chunk of this turn left to play, and a few more turns after that. So yeah, see you in the next one, guys. Take care. Keep gaming.